welcome Mr. Jason Gore, round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. So I do not have a PowerPoint. I'm going to speak from my notes today. Just a couple things. First of all, the two previous speakers, Mr. Perez, I got to tell you, I was down in El Paso, and everything that you reported and you saw, I saw. Completely correct. We saw, in fact, when I was down there, a family from Honduras surrendered to us. You know, they came all the way from Honduras. It was a mother, a father, and 3 kids, one of them still in diapers. This is a real problem. It was. And it looks like things are getting resolved down there, but he is 100% correct. Detective Coffey, he set out a lot of definitions that I was going to review. That means that gives me a little bit extra time to talk with you guys about some stories and some things that I learned. So, thank you, Detective. Just a little bit about me. Again, I am a newly retired special agent with ATF. ATF is we are the federal gun police. We investigate violent crime. I've spent a career investigating violent crimes, shootings, firearms trafficking, and organized crime. My real expertise is in RICO-style investigations against criminal organizations. I've done 5 here in Lake County. A little bit about myself, as I said, I was born and raised in Hammond. I did 7 years at Maryville PD. I did 21 years with ATF. 17 of those years I spent working here in Lake County. It's very, very rare for a federal agent to come back home and stay as long as I did. So I'm very, very fortunate for that. You just heard Detective Coffey talk about the macro. Terms, definitions, things that's going on. I'm going to give you the micro, things going on in Lake County. These are from cases that I have worked. So I do not have an expertise in sex trafficking, but when you work organized crime, this is one of the rackets that they use. So invariably, you get pulled in to prostitution and sex trafficking. Additionally, I've worked some other cases associated with this, and it's really caused me to go down a rabbit hole investigatively just to prove the cases, and I'm going to share these stories. These are stories that we have gone to trial on. These are stories that people have pled guilty on. This is the real thing going on here in Lake County. So let me get into it. Yes, ma'am.
Give me 10 seconds. To the audience, my apologies. I meant to say this on the mic. Please, no recording. We do not want to have this recorded. We can take pictures if you like. I know the slides are important for you. So I just wanted to make mention, out of respect of our speakers and this information, since this was not a free event, and we want to respect the information and some of the pictures that they may be showing eventually in the video may come up. I don't know, but just want to be mindful of that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gore.
So my experience comes in 3 places. One, I was a case agent for a RICO case against the Latin King street gang coming out of Chicago and operating here in Northwest Indiana. As part of that investigation, we indicted 53 people, solved 12 murders, and then there was a leg of that investigation that involved prostitution and sex trafficking. I want to talk a little bit about that because it did involve girls here from the region. Secondly, I want to talk about a gentleman named Darren Van. Darren Van was a serial killer that was living and operating in Gary, Indiana. I worked that case. He confessed to me and took me to bodies, 3 bodies of prostitutes in Gary, Indiana. That case is adjudicated, so I feel comfortably talking about it. And then lastly, I want to talk about some of the Asian massage parlor cases that we worked and kind of how we got there. All of this in Northwest Indiana. So, first, the Latin King street gang. Have we all heard of the Latin Kings?
Yeah.
All right, it's an organized street gang. You know, New York, Chicago, it's spread across the country. We had several sets or groups working and operating in Northwest Indiana, mainly in Hammond, East Chicago, and Gore. We endeavor a RICO investigation against them because they were at war with people, they were actively shooting, they were a very, very violent group, drug dealing, the whole, really the whole gamut. We start looking into them, and as we start peeling back the onion and people begin cooperating, we find that they were also running prostitutes and also underage young girls. So how did we get there? Well, they had a madam, her name was Melinda Milton. Again, if you Google her name, you'll see it. It was her job to procure and to run their sex trafficking. So they would set up, using social media, bringing in girls and women. They would rent hotels, and they would go on to things like Craigslist and other, and men would show up, pay their money, do their act, and leave, and the gang would get a piece of that. In return, the gang was supposed to provide protection, albeit they were never really there. They were just collecting money. As it's become more and more sophisticated for the Kings, they start making more money. They start investing a little bit more into this endeavor. Their client list grows. The clients, and then there's a few clients who wanted to get young girls, 16-year-olds, 14-year-olds. So Melinda procured these girls, one being her daughter, and put them to work. These are underage girls. When I heard that, to think about you do that to your own daughter is horrible, but she did. So how did she get these girls? Well, this is the rabbit hole that I went down as an investigator, and many of the concepts and stuff that you heard are going to kind of begin here. A lot of the girls came from very good homes. They were average girls, mom and dad in the house. They went to school. They were not dumb. They were pretty, and they were young. And they wanted to make a little extra money, whether it be for book fare for college or just trips or whatever they could get. So they enter in with Melinda and the Latin Kings to start doing this sugar daddy stuff. It's where an older man takes along a younger woman, buys her things, give her things. It's kind of supposed to be like a date. The reality is just sex for money, and that's all it is. These young girls would go out, meet these men. They would get purses and money and nice dinners, maybe some travel, some money in their pocket that they could, use, and they would do very sex acts with them. They, in their mind, think it's really no big deal. It's just an older man, and it's kind of a thing that we're doing back and forth. The man is paying Melinda so that money goes back to the Latin Kings. But the reality is that as these young girls endeavor down this, there's no way out. They can't go anywhere. So if they wanted to leave, well, Melinda would remind them that their dad would not like this. They would threaten them with force, threaten them with embarrassment, threaten them with public shaming. These girls could not get off of the ride, and they were on. Once we learned this and we started getting some information, we had to identify these victims, and we did. And I had the very difficult job of going to the homes of these young ladies and interviewing, quite often with their fathers and mothers present. Let me set the scene. You go to a house, it's a working class house. The one that comes to mind is dad is a union electrician. He has his work van out front. He's a hardworking man. Mom is in the house, great family. Girl is a good student. She goes to one of the local universities, and she has herself tied up in this situation. She can't get out. And I just happened to knock on the door because I need to talk to her. So you picture a federal agent knocking on the door. Mom and dad wants to know what the hell's going on, and rightfully so, right? So I asked to speak with the girl who's an adult. And I tell her, I said, I know what's going on. I'm here to talk with you about this, and this ride you're on stops and see. So you can either go in and tell dad yourself, or I can come in with you and we can tell dad. The choice is yours. This is not a conversation that I want to have with a father, because I can only imagine if that was my door. You try to be as polite as you can, but as direct as you can. She opted for me to come in because she was afraid of her father. And we sat down, and I opened the conversation, and she followed it, and she told the truth. And the look of anger, disgust, pain on those parents' face, tell that father, that man was seething. He was so angry. And rightfully so, I get it. His daughter has made a horrible mistake that she can't get off of. But we were able to put an end to it, and she was able to provide us some valuable information. And then we had to go on to the next one. And then we had to go on to the next one. And they all sound the same. These are young girls from families. Some of them, they come from families where, the dad wasn't in the house, or they have a drug habit. There's varying things, but they're not that far off. They're just young girls who, in the pursuit of trying to get some money or attention or to do something different in their life, has got them caught up in this situation, and they could not get out. And it was horrible to see, and it was horrible to have those conversations, but we had to. The long and short of it is we were able to build a case against Melinda Milton, and she's going to spend the next 35 years of her life in federal prison where she sits today. We arrested 2 men who were buying girls at 16 years old. So we were able to interdict those situations and lock those 2 men up. They lived in Central County, Cherville, they lived, and they are also sitting in federal prison today. That was a very painful situation. When I heard that Melinda had trafficked her own daughter, you got to remain professional. All the police officers remember, you got to remain professional even when you're staring evil in the face. That's our job. That's the oath that we took. And if we violate their rights, then we're the bad guys and girls, right? And we're not. The second investigation that I want to talk with you guys about was Mr. Darren Van. If you remember some years back, Darren Van had committed a murder. He murdered a prostitute in the city of Hammond in a hotel. He gets arrested by Hammond PD, who responded promptly, and then subsequent interviews, he confesses to murdering 7 prostitutes. I get called in by the U.S. Attorney to go there, and my instructions were, Jason, if you can make a federal case, make it. So I immediately partner with Hammond PD, and we sit down with this man and start listening to his stories. The long and short of it is he had a crack habit and had used it for years. He would go and he would get these girls who, most of them had drug habits. He would pay for sex. He would get violent. They would fight back, and he would lose his mind and strangle them to death. And then he would stack their bodies in abandoned houses in Gary, which is relevant to why Detective caught this thing. We interviewed him for 7 hours, and he was very precise as to what he was telling us. Gave it to us all. Then we piled into a car, and we went to 2 addresses of abandoned houses in Gary, and he took us to one house where a lady was rolled in a rug in this abandoned house. And then he took us to another house where he took us into the old coal room, and these 2 women were stacked on top of each other and had been there for so long, and their body was in such a state of decomposition that if you didn't know what you were looking for, you couldn't tell. You could only identify that they were human beings by their rib cages. That's how far it had gone. To take another step, one of the houses that he took us to was being occupied by other homeless people. So we walk into this abandoned home, and there's 2 beds in there, twin-sized beds, with sheets, pillows, immaculate, very, very clean. And they had some of their personal belongings. These 2 homeless people had no clue what was in the basement, and that's where they were living. So, that's a real problem in the city of Gary. He took us to the 3. He confessed to 7 total. one in Hannon, and then the 6 in Gary. Some of the girls were from Gary, some of the girls were from Merrillville. They were all young women, some of them mothers. A lot of them had a drug habit, and they were out on the street trying to hustle money. And he killed them. It was horrible to see. He pled, he's got life in prison. So he's in the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections, and that's where he will spend the rest of his life. An interesting story, he confessed to the 7, and then he went out on this tale of how he was a contract killer by the cartels in Mexico and stuff like that. So we had 3 days of some pretty blank follow-up, but he got locked up. The last situation I want to talk about are Asian massage parlors. Now you can drive around Lake County and see them. I can, Griffith, Crown Point. There's Asian massage parlors. Munster used to have one. So we get contacted. The ATF gets contacted. One little secret about ATF that nobody knows is ATF has the most robust undercover program in all federal law enforcement. A lot of our agents go out and they are professional, they are experts in undercover work. And Lake County is blessed because we have 3 of these men who work out of the local office here. It's really a gift because a lot of the work that we do, or did, when I was still employed, was of an undercover nature. And these men and women go out and put themselves face to face with bad guys every day, buying guns, drugs, getting information, infiltrating gangs and other criminal organizations. They are the silent professionals, and they're the bravest human beings I've ever met. So we get information from the Munster Police Department that there is an Asian massage parlor. So they ask for our help, namely our undercover resources. Presumably these women, and they were, none of them could speak English, so they were all from China. The owner was, he was just a white dude that lived actually in Illinois. He had another massage parlor there. So what we did is we just started sending undercovers into the massage parlor and eventually working up to that next step. Now mind you, they could not participate in that act. That was, but they had to lead them up to it and then back out at the last minute, and then we were able to get charges and search warrants and stuff like that. So at the time I was a supervisor, and I had to make it real clear that we have boundaries. With the agents, being the professionals they were, they got it, and we were able to go in there and shut that down. So we used the FBI because they had interpreters. They all spoke Mandarin. And these were young girls. They were very nice. They talked to us. They were all very, very afraid. They were all here from China. They had no family. All they had was each other. And they were working in this massage parlor for this man who was giving them room and board. They had no way out. They had no way out because they didn't have any family. They had no way out because they couldn't speak the language. They had no way out because they were not here legally. They had no way out because they had no resources or an ability to communicate. They solely relied on this man and his employees. That was it. That was the only lifeline that they had. And they would work in these massage parlors quite often for very, very long hours. At the end, performing sex acts for pennies on the dollar. Most of the money went to him. And that was their future. So we were able to go in there. We got probable cause for both locations, one in Indiana and one in Illinois, and we hit both of the locations. Thanks to FBI, we had plenty of interpreters there, and we were able to interview these girls, none of which cooperated. I don't think that they understood the gravity of it, to really, to garner their support, but we were able to get them resources and to get them safe. Ultimately, we were not able to charge the owner. We were able to shut down his businesses. He cannot hold a business license in Munster. Munster took it very, very seriously. So if you live in Munster, kudos to the Munster town government. And those massage parlors are closed. But there's more. There's more. You can just truck down the street and see them. And it's right there, staring us right in the face. These young women that work these, that's exactly where they come from. That's exactly where they come from. Aside from being, a special agent, I'm also a father. I have a 10-year-old little girl. And it's a blessing and curse for a child, because when you have a police officer that's your father or grandfather, you bear the brunt of all the bad things in the world that we know exists out there, and she is one of them. And I have got to tell you, she's out there, her life is digital. She's working, and she has all her friends, and they play these games, Roblox, and my wife is sitting in the crowd, does a lot of hard work in monitoring what they're doing. But this is a real problem. These young girls are people will get on there with fake accounts, and they'll act like kids, and they'll get them to send a photo, just a kissy face photo. And then they got it. And the thing that I learned as a father on this is that I try to set a conversation or a message to my daughter that no matter what she does, no matter how bad she thinks it is, how much she has messed up, she can always come to me. She can always come to me. I ain't gonna be happy, but I got her back. And it's a message that I routinely relay, and I learned it from the fathers of the people that I have already interviewed, and these fathers, they love their kids. But I let them know every day that, hey, you mess up, you can come to me. It's not that bad. You mess up, you can come to me. It's not that bad. And I hope that I have achieved that. But that's the world that she lives under, and that is my experience with sex trafficking here in Northwest Indiana. You don't see the prostitution strolls as much as you will see them. You'll see them on the state line in Hammond, though Hammond does a very good job at curtailing that. You'll see it in some of the parts in Gary, especially on 20 near some of the hotels. Keep in mind that a lot of the hotels that are here, we have a lot of them, they do rent these out, and then they do set up Craigslist and other social media apps where men can go and go there, and they have a room, they pay their money, they go in, they complete their act, and come out. They'll set up over the weekend. All those girls are generally from Chicago, and you'll see them at 9 in the morning walking around trying to get something to eat or go to the store or something like that. When I was in patrol, you saw them all the time. Sex trafficking is here. Watch your kids, watch your neighbors, but just know that it's in all the neighborhoods. It can affect your family no matter how rich or poor, what your color, where you live. It is a real thing. And the people that are trying to take advantage of this, they're organized, they know what they're doing, they know how to utilize technology better than we do, and they're fearless. So if you come across anybody that is suffering from this and dealing with it, reach out to your local law enforcement. You can reach out to ATF. You can also reach out to FBI. State police has a very, very robust team. Reach out to somebody. Let us get involved. We're gonna have to peel some scabs back, and it's not going to be pretty, but that child will come out better and have a better chance at life. So that's all that I have here. I wish I had a better PowerPoint, which I have none. But those are the things that I saw. And